previous video I made about how stupid naysayers actually are, to double down on the data that I shared there. Close elections, new normal. Our close presidential elections, the new normal. Here is a clip from Chuck Todd, who can...
Welcome back, data download time. More than a month after Election Day, the story for many is just how close the presidential race was. Yet, although many expected a wider margin, the relative closeness of Biden's almost 4.5-point popular vote victory over Donald Trump actually should not have been a surprise. Because when compared to recent years, it wasn't really that close at all. Biden's margin of victory was actually bigger than all but one election since 2000, including George W. Bush's 2.5-point win in 2004 and Barack Obama's 3.9 percentage point win in 2012. In fact, the only bigger margin was Barack Obama's 2008 win, which was actually only just above a 7 percentage point victory over John McCain. But as we all learned in 2000 and 2016, the popular vote does not decide the presidency. It's the Electoral College. And those victories have also been narrowing as well. In fact, since 2000, only once has a presidential candidate carried more than 30 states. George W. Bush with 31 in 2004. Now, that may sound like a lot today, but a presidential candidate breaking 30 states, well, that used to be pretty common, at least in my childhood. Let's take a look at the 80s. Each presidential winner in that decade captured 40 or more states on the way to the White House. Even Bill Clinton carried more than 30 states. In fact, we can go even further back. In the 19 elections from 1920 to 1992, the winner of the presidential race carried fewer than 32 states just 3 times. Now remember, Bush's 31 state win in 2004 is the most states we've seen a candidate win in the 21st century, period. Here's another way to think about it. Since 1988, every presidential election has been decided by single-digit margins in the popular vote. 9 straight presidential elections, going back to George H.W. Bush's victory in 88. To find the last time the country had a string of close races like that, you'd have to go back more than a century, when the country saw 7 consecutive single-digit elections between 1876 and 1900. Think about that period of time, right? The economy was transitioning. We were getting out of the Civil War still. Not a surprise that that was a polarizing time as well. The deep divides in our...
Yeah, we'll see. That's the news report, basically. The elections are getting closer and closer, like Chuck Todd says, basically. You know what, though? I learned how I prefer to deal with Republicans from Alan Grayson. So here's how Alan Grayson deals with you. Die quickly, Alan Grayson. The GOP healthcare.
Gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You may recall that a few weeks ago, President Obama came to this chamber, and he addressed the chamber on health care before a joint session of the House and the Senate. During that session, I was privileged to be here, and I saw my colleagues on the far side of the aisle, the Republicans, waving pieces of paper during his speech. And I was wondering what they were. I couldn't imagine. It almost seemed like they wanted President Obama's autograph. I just didn't get it. I heard from one of my colleagues that this is what they called the Republican health care plan. I went over after the speech was over. I picked up a copy that was lying down on the Republican side, and it turns out that the Republicans' health care plan was a blank piece of paper. I inquired further, trying to find out exactly what the Republicans' health care plan is, and it's my duty and pride tonight to be able to announce exactly what the Republicans plan to do for health care in America. It's this. Very simply, it's a very simple plan. Here it is. The Republicans' health care plan for America. Don't get sick. That's right. Don't get sick. If you have insurance, don't get sick. If you don't have insurance, don't get sick. If you're sick, don't get sick. Just don't get sick. That's what the Republicans have in mind for you, America. That's the Republicans' health care plan. But I think that the Republicans understand that that plan isn't always going to work. It's not a foolproof plan. So the Republicans have a backup plan in case you do get sick. If you get sick in America, this is what the Republicans want you to do. If you get sick, America, the Republican health care plan is this. Die quickly. That's right. The Republicans want you to die quickly if you get sick. Now, The Democrats have a different plan. The Democrats say that if you have health insurance, we're going to make it better. If you don't have health insurance, we're going to provide it to you. If you can't afford health insurance, then we'll help you afford health insurance. So America gets to decide. Do you want the Democratic plan or do you want the Republican plan? Remember, the Republican plan, don't get sick. And if you do get sick, die quickly. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
And then, when the Republicans get offended, enough you to apologize.
Last night here in this chamber, I gave a speech. I'm not going to recount every single thing that I said, but I will point out that immediately after that speech, several Republicans asked me to apologize. Well, I would like to apologize. I would like to apologize to the dead. And here's why. According to this study, health insurance and mortality in U.S. adults, which was published 2 weeks ago, 44,789 Americans die every year because they have no health insurance. That's right, 44,789 Americans die every year, according to this Harvard study called Health Insurance and Mortality in U.S. Adults. You can see it by going to our website, grayson.house.gov. That is more than 10 times the number of Americans who died in the war in Iraq. It's more than 10 times the number of Americans who died in 9/11. But that was just once. This is every single year. That's right, every single year. Take a look at this. Read it and weep. And I mean that. Read it and weep. Because of all these Americans who are dying because they don't have health insurance. Now, I think we should do something about that. And the Democratic health care plan does do something about that. It makes health care affordable for those who can't afford insurance. And it saves these people's lives. Let's remember that we should care about people even after they're born. So I call upon the Democratic members of the House. I call upon the Republican members of the House. I call upon all of us to do our jobs for the sake of America, for the sake of those dying people and their families. I apologize to the dead and their families that we haven't voted sooner to end this Holocaust in America. I yield the rest of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. DeFazio of Oregon. Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I have words for both Democrats and Republicans tonight. Let's start with the Democrats. We as a party have spent the last 6 months, the greatest minds of our party, dwelling on the question, the unbelievably consuming question of how to get Olympia Snowe to vote for health care reform. I want to remind us all, Olympia Snowe was not elected president last year. Olympia Snowe has no veto power in the Senate. Olympia Snowe represents a state with 0.5% of America's population. What America wants is health care reform. America doesn't care if it gets 51 votes in the Senate or 60 votes in the Senate or 83 votes in the Senate. In fact, America doesn't even care about that. It doesn't care about that at all. What America cares about is this. There are over 1 million Americans who go broke every single year trying to pay their health care bills. America cares a lot about that. America cares about the fact that there are 44,780 Americans who die every single year on account of not having health care. That's 122 every day. America sure cares a lot about that. America cares about the fact that if you have a pre-existing condition, even if you have health insurance, it's not covered. America cares about that a lot. America cares about the fact that you get all the health care you need as long as you don't need any. America cares about that a lot. But America does not care about procedures, processes, personalities. America doesn't care about that at all. So we have to remember that as Democrats. We have to remember that what's at stake here is life and death, enormous amounts of money, and people are counting upon us to move ahead. America understands what's good for America. America cares about health care. America cares about jobs. America cares about education, about energy independence. America does not care about process or politicians or personalities or anything like that. And I have a few words for my Republican friends tonight as well. I guess I do have some Republican friends. Let me say this. Last week I held up this report here and I pointed out that in America there's 44,789 Americans who die every year according to this Harvard report published in a peer-reviewed journal because they have no health insurance. That's an extra 44,789 Americans who die whose lives could be saved. And their response was to ask me for an apology. To ask me for an apology. That's right, to ask me for an apology. Well, I'm telling you this. I will not apologize. I will not apologize. I will not apologize for a simple reason. America doesn't care about your feelings. I violated no rules by calling this report to America's attention. I think a lot of people didn't know about it beforehand.
Damn
But
right.
America does care about health care in America. And if
He
you're-
just said the brutal truth. I was there when it happened, when this speech went down. I was following politics closely. I didn't give a flying fuck about Republicans' feelings, literally at all. And I still don't. So thumb my video down. Go ahead. In fact, I take great pride in having offended you. I'm drinking the Republican tears. They're so salty and delicious. Donald Trump lost an election. It feels great. Republican tears. I fill my bong with Republican tears. It's a great one. Great, great meme. The left can't meme, though. It's a great meme. You know? And then there's this. Drink all you want. The GOP's tears of impotent rage. Crisp, refreshing, and soul-nourishing. And then there's the best one, which is this one. Yes, that's right. That's my personal lubricant for, my jacking off. It makes me euphoric that you're miserable.